sefer? Why is it important? What is this sefer? And what also I think needs hezbollah, both midrashim conclude with the famous Chazal, Yoisim Masha Balabayis Oisel Ani, Ha'ani Oisel Balabayis. Reuven thought he's doing Yoisim a favor, and Boaz with Rus, and Aaron with Moshe, but you should know when you're doing chesed, you're really getting chesed. What's the shaykhs? So Tyre, I think there's a gewaltige Musahaskel here, Halacha L'maisa. We're talking about our aim in life to do mitzvah with shleimus, with simcha, and the Medrash is giving us the formula. How is this the formula? Reb Chaim Kreis used to tell the story, but the day Havi Uvda. It was right before the outbreak of World War II. He was a young Rav in a shtetl, and one of the wealthy Balabatim approached him, I need a favor. He had this bad feeling he's not going to survive the war, and he was a big gevir. So he liquidated all his money, and he sent it to a Swiss bank account, and he had all of the information in a little packet. And he told Reb Chaim, I don't think I'm going to make it through the war. I think the Rav will. Take this packet. I have one son. He only had one son. I don't know where he is. I don't know if he's alive. But if you ever meet my son, give him the information. He'll be a millionaire. Reb Chaim at first refused. Why should he accept this very bleak prognosis? But Lamaisi, he took it. And he carried around with him, he said, for 25 years, this little packet with information to a Swiss bank account, a fabulous wealth. One day he was traveling in New York, in the subway station, in the subway. He sat next to a Yid, looks like a very poor person. And he started talking, what do you do? Basically, I'm a shamish, I don't have much panas, I'm muchazich. Vana kumt a Yid, what's your name? And he couldn't believe it. It was the same name that the Yid that gave him the packet 25 years ago. Could this be the son? And he started asking information. And it was mamish, this was the son. He goes, Rabbi Yid, you're not an honey for Evya, and you're a Gvir Adir. And he took out the book that he's carrying for 25 years. Go to Switzerland, and you're going to find out you're a Gvir Adir. And the person was so shocked, he goes, go to Switzerland, I could barely afford to pay for the train. He goes, I'll give you the money, you're a Gvir Adir, you don't hear what I'm saying? To me, this story is the pshat in the Medrash. We know being poor is a big nisayon, with all the challenges of aniyus. And then there's an oisha. But the ani has his tremendous nisyanis, and sometimes it's very depressing. But you know what's worse than being an ani is what I consider a poor millionaire. Someone that has mamish ashiras nifla, and he's totally unaware of it. This Yid for 25 years lived with all the nisyonis of aniyus, and he really was a gvir. He wasn't an ani, he wasn't an oisher, he's what I call a poor millionaire. He lost all the brachas that were mamish in his hands, had only he known. It's very depressing to think of all the muchanish and the difficulty that really wasn't his. He was a billionaire, but he was a poor millionaire. But you know what's more depressing? Sometimes we are the poor millionaires. Sometimes we're the nimshal. We have a treasure that's called a mitzvah. We have a treasure that's called a vor Torah. We have a treasure that's called a chesed. And if we don't understand why sometimes we are poor millionaires, to us the Medrash is saying, Ilu haya yodeya. I'm just thinking about a Mishnah in Kedushin. We all learn it. Lametesa Bedbeis. Kol ha'oisa mitzvah achas, mativan loy, umarichan loy yama, v'noichel asa aretz. So the way the Rishonim learn, the Rambam, the Rav learns, mativan loy of der Welt, and of jene Welt, for a mitzvah achas. Ha'oisa mitzvah achas. Isn't that a fabulous wealth? The both Bavli and Yishalmi teach the pasuk Kol Chafetzecha lo yishvuva. What does it mean? Kol Chafetzecha, everything in the world doesn't come close to a Torah. A kapara of the ganze Welt. Kol Chefzei Shemayim, all the mitzvahs, kommt nicht zu ein Wort Teure. One word Teure is Kol Chafetzecha, Kol Mitzvah Shel Teure, kommt nicht zu ein Wort Teure. Rabbi Zalman was once asked to speak in a yeshiva, and they had a terrible tragedy. One of the Bachim were nifta suddenly, and they Pashut couldn't regain their equilibrium, so he asked to give a shmooze. He said, I'm not giving a shmooze, I'm going to tell you a story. The Granat of Naftali, the Rashiva by Chavetz Chaim's yeshiva, in the prime of his life, became very sick. And the Bachim were very davuk to him, and they got together, and they made up that each one's going to give schusim for the refuah of the Rashiva Rabbi Naftali. One bacha stayed up at night, one bacha was fasting, and one bacha gave tzedakah. And then the committee went to the Heilige Chavetz Chaim, and they told them what they're doing. If the Rebbe, the Chavetz Chaim, could donate something, l'schus, Naftali should have a refuah shalema. So he put his head down, and he was thinking, and then he picked up his head, he says, I'm giving Rabbi Naftali a minute of my learning. So Rabbi Zalman got very emotional. He says, don't think the Chavetz Chaim was selfish. He was stingy, chas v'shalom. The Chavetz Chaim was very selfless. He was very generous. And he gave the biggest donation that a Yid could give. He gave a minute of his learning. A minute, like we would say, of kol chafotzecha lo yishfa. No. And I ask you, so if someone has a Sunday off, he has a long Shabbos afternoon, during the winter long Friday evening, Leil Shabbos, what he could turn that into. Hours of Limud HaTorah. But if he doesn't realize that, isn't he living a life of a poor millionaire? Such potential. You know, Chavis Lavavis writes about the famous myth, the alchemist, that it was reputed that there's some place in the world that you have a machine, you put in dirt, you put in the steel, and it turns into gold. And Oilam, Goyim, everybody ran to find that machine, the alchemist that could turn nothing into everything. We have that machine. It's called time. Time could be turned into Limud HaTorah. I'll give you another mashal. A number of years ago, Taka was a Chol Hamoed Pesach. I remember distinctly. I once spoke about Chesed. So he came over and told me, I'm going to tell you a story that he knows personally. It just happened rather when he told me this story. His business was failing, Mamish was about to collapse, and he desperately needed a loan. He approached the Yid, who was quite well off. He says, I need a loan, I can't get out on my own, I don't have enough assets. You take out a loan in your name and give it to me. And the Yid was very uneasy. He can't afford it, so I should give it to him. I'm never going to see the money again. But then he rose to the occasion and he realized that Yid has to give. I'll take out a loan, I'll give it to you. Fine. He went down to the bank, he's filling out the papers, and the bank manager looks and says, I'm sorry, I can't extend the loan. You have equity, you have a nice house and all, but you don't have flood insurance. And what's going to be if there's a flood? I'm not going to have the money. I can't extend the loan until you take out flood insurance. So the Gevir starts thinking, the whole thing I'm not comfortable with. But I should take out flood insurance. I can't charge him. It's for my house. I should spend thousands of dollars for a new insurance I don't even need. But again, he rose to the occasion. I'll do it. And he took out flood insurance. A few weeks later, Rabbi say, Hurricane Sandy hit his home. He lived in Far Rockaway. He was one of the only people that was able to recover almost all his losses because he had flood insurance. Who else had flood insurance, even though you lived near the ocean? But then I wasn't done. He was the only Yidden in Far Rockaway that was able to recover almost all of his losses. That's a moment of chesed. That's a nitzchiyus of chesed, of tatzil mimaves. I used to wonder, Biruchim Levovitz, the Mir Mashkiach, Bechayev was probably the biggest hashpah in Europe. And b'misasan yoisemi b'chayeyem, think about the svarim, it's all over. B'amet koichei gadol. This I used to wonder, because he had such a hashpah, it's lahafli, gedolei rashivas, that I was able to learn all were his talmidim. Recently, I just found in the Hagdama to Das Chachma Musaf, Yerucham Sefer Chei Legal, it's page 11, they quote from Rabbi Yerucham's friend, in Kelm, Rabbi Yosef Leib Nendik, who wrote to his sons after Rabbi Yerucham was nifta, I was always nispoil your father's extraordinary hatzlacha. And I'll tell you the secret. I knew him well. They were colleagues. Because once he was sent on a mission for Pidyon Shvuyim, deep in Russia, and he did it with Mesiras Nefesh. And he writes, I guarantee you, it's that Ma'aseh Chesed, that's why he was Zoicha to become the Greis of Yeruchim. And he said, Mimenu tiru v'chein tasu v'Hashem yeh b'azrechem. That's a mitzvah achas of Chesed. That's one mitzvah. You know, the Medrash teaches in Kehelas, Zayin Hey, Hachai yiten el liboy. So the Medrash says, Zechei ha'olamim, the one, the Baruch will live forever, Shemishalem schar levarnash al kol psiya upsiya b'gemilas chasad. It's almost ilmolig mikra kosavi efshel ha'oimroi. But Hachai is boire yoilam, Yitein el liboy, in Yiddish, is auf den Herzen, sie gebackt auf den Herz, that you did a chesed to my child. They say this Stipler was a younger man living in Europe, and he very much wanted to say for Imrei Moshe, and he couldn't afford it. He was living mamish badachkus, so he wrote a letter to the Mechaba, if he could have a discount. So Mechaba says, you want to learn it? I'll give it to you for free. End of story, l'chayra. The Stipler moved to Eretz Yisrael, came the big Churban. After the World War II, Talmidim that survived wanted to reprint Imrei Moshe, and there was not one Sefer Imrei Moshe to be found. It was all Nebuchah, Karbonos of the war. But there was one Yid on this universe that still had an Imrei Moshe, and that was the Stipler. And from his print, from his Sefer, they reprinted that Wenena Ad Hayom Hazeh. That's a mitzvah achas. Imrei Moshe invested in his future. And it's like the Rambam, the famous Rambam, the end of Pirush Mishnayos of Masechta Makis, with the Gemara in Avodah Zarah Yud Zayin, Rabbi Chanina was Makil Kilayis Barab, he was Ma'aseh Nefesh, and he asked, do you have Olam Haba? Chlo Ma'aseh Bol Yodcha, they asked him, did you do something? What do you mean? I was just Makil Kilayis Barabim. Zog the Heilige Rambam in Pirush Mishnayos, if a person does one mitzvah b'shleimis, one mitzvah, he's Zoich D'Olam Haba. I was asking, did you do one mitzvah b'shleimis? And that was the story with the Moish Shel Tzedakah and his Chalfu. But this is what a mitzvah achas is. We spoke about Chesed, Torah, but they're all Yekarami Pninim, like the Ramban writes in the end of Parashas Boy. Lefikach Amru, the Mishnah and Avos have Izah b'mitzvah Kaluk v'Chamura shekulam chamudais v'chavivais moed. And then when you have Taryag mitzvahs, aren't we all millionaires, billionaires? And then if we underestimate a mitzvah, aren't we also suffering from Ilu Yada? You know, the Charedim writes in the Akdama that every mitzvah that a person is zoicha to do is a doirin, the Shadalei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's a gift. And then he says, the Ari HaKadosh said about himself, that whatever he was zoicha to be masig was because of the simchas ha-mitzvahs. And then he says, and I quote, and that's the pshat in the pasuk, Tachas asher levadat Hashem alikecha b'simcha u'v'toiv mirav kol, pirish mirav kol minei tainik sheba'olam u'mikol zav u'pazrav v'avanim toivas u'magolius. If someone doesn't do simcha as if it would be pazrav avanim toivas magolius, of them come the churban. Tachas asher levadat Hashem alikecha. That's what a mitzvah is. Rav Shach used to say what he saw in the Pinkis in the Vilna Kehillah. The Vilna Goyen's Rebbetzin was a big Balas Tzedakah, and she had a shutef that she went with her. So they made up, whoever dies first should come back and in a dream and tell the survivor, was Tutzach of Yanavelt. And the other woman was Nifta first, and she came back to the Goyen's Rebbetzin. This is recorded in the Pinkis of the Vilna Kehillah. She came back and she says, you have no idea the schar of a mitzvah, but not just a mitzvah. You remember how long ago we were walking together and we spotted a woman that we wanted to collect from. You raised your hand. Oh, there she is. I didn't. You did it. You have no idea the schar of just raising your hand to get the attention of the woman. And the schar mitzvah, mi yodeya. How true it is what Shloim is chachma, chacham leiv yikach mitzvahs. And the fact that there's more mitzvahs, so that's human nature. Yashleimana roitza Messiah. You know, the Rabbi Yehuda in the Tshuva, in Tinyana Yodeya, Kuf Chav Gimel, he quotes the Shlach Kodesh that says that an Isha that counts Shiva Nikim has to count Bepeh. It's a mitzvah b'safra. So Rabbi Yehuda writes, Hagoyin hazel l'roiv kedushas chasidusoi niskayim by oyev mitzvahs la yizba mitzvahs. He had such an unquenchable thirst for mitzvahs, he made up an ayah mitzvah. This is not a mitzvah. And he goes on to say there's no such mitzvah of counting Zayin Nikiyim Bepeh. But the Lashon was so precious. A Yid has to live his life, Oyev mitzvahs, La Yizba mitzvahs. So Sharm in Perek Dal writes about a pesi, a fool. He thinks, I'm doing well, I'm okay. And he rests on his laurels. It's a fool. If you machshav a mitzvah, so chap more and more. And that's what a mitzvah achas is. And I'm always spoiled how Chazal expected us to feel what a mitzvah achas is. The Mishnah in Chagiga Daf Tes, Taich the Pasuk in Keheles, M'uvis lo yuchal liskoin, v'chesron lo yuchal imanos. A terrible tragedy that's mamish irreversible. What is that? So the Mishnah has two pshatim. Either Nebuch, he was mezana, and he is a mamza, or Talmid Chacham ha-pirish min ha-Torah. Mamish a shanu pirish. No, we could understand that's tragedy. Mamish tragedy. But the Gemara adds another example of Mubus la yuchal liskain, v'chesh la yuchal imanais, ze shebitel kriyish meshal shachris, or kriyish meshal harvis. Or he missed the davening. It's ma'ul harayin. A mamza, I could understand. Talmid Chacham that goes off the derech, I could understand. But to miss one Krishma, 1 out of 120 years, as I gefährlich, the answer is it is as I gefährlich. Because all you have mitzvahs like yizba mitzvahs. They say someone told our Baron once, Shal Salanta once missed the first man Krishma and he fainted. So Baron says, Nicht emes. So he says, why can it be emes? He had such a chshivas for the mitzvah. So Nicht emes, he missed the first man Krishma even once. It's unthinkable. All you have mitzvahs like yizba mitzvahs. I remember very vividly, it goes back over 30 years ago, right after the Petir of Moshe Feinstein, and there was a moifis circulating. Moshe was nifta, Tainus Esther, if you remember Sunday night, Purim then was Monday night, and the last Parsha Zoch, he was very, very weak, and the Kamat didn't want to make a minyan for Zocha, but Moshe asked for it, so they got a minyan for Shachris and Parsha Zoch, and they said, everybody should just disappear, he doesn't have koyach to have a musaf. So they davened Shachris and Zocha, and they left. Moshe realized that everybody left. So he asked Rabbi Reuven, where'd everybody go? He goes, no, we'll daven later. Pushing it off. Came later, Moshe says, no, it's Musaf. Because now it's too late. They all daven elsewhere. So Moshe says, no, I want to have minyan for Musaf. Get a minyan. So Rabbi Reuven ran out and finding punkt a minyan. And after daven, Moshe says, gedenk, these heilige werte, gedenk, me darf reinchappen, wiffel me ken. And Vahila Moifis, that was the last Musaf he was Zoicha to say. And Rav Moshe is about Ruach HaKodesh, he saw his last Musaf. No, I don't doubt Rav Moshe was about Ruach HaKodesh. But the message of the story was he was a Chacham Leiv. He was an Oyev Mitzvahs. The fact that for almost 90 years, he was like Pasik Pumi Megirsa, his Torah, his Tefillah. But a Musaf is a Mubus La Yuchal Liskay. Mit Afarein Chafen Wiffel Meken. And then you see a zilzal in tefillah, and you wonder, isn't that a poor millionaire? I once gave a shir here about Peturim from tefillah b'tzibur. When a person's potter, he's traveling and this. So he, a while later, contacted me. This is one of my heroes. He's a Baal Tshuva, an Ish Nechmod. He's a very high-profile lawyer. And he says, I don't understand your whole shir. You have to give a shir about potter from tefillah b'tzibur. Why should anybody want to be potter from tefillah b'tzibur? You could say Kaddish, Kedusha, you could daven. And this is a person that's a lawyer, and again, is not so much what you call typical But he says, he tell me your feet tuma. He wasn't trying to brag. He says, I traveled the world, as you know. I go in the furthest places. And for the past 54 months, not weeks, 54 months, it's 4.5 years, I didn't once miss Tefillah B'tzibur. And he told me at times it was great expense for me. I had to travel an hour and a half, change a flight, to the ridicule, to the surprise of my colleagues. But for 54 months, I didn't miss one Tefillah B'tzibur. And then he says, and just to make sure it works, if I ever miss Tefillah B'tzibur, even an Einis Gomer, I have to fast and give a big amount of tzedakah as a kapara. So why do you have to tell people not to miss Tefillah B'tzibur? That's a Oyev Tefillah La Yiz B'Tefillah. That's a Chacham Leiv. I once received a phone call from a woman, I don't know who she is. She's asking about a Shaila Ma'asik Sof. I said, okay, what's the Shaila? She says she's a single mother raising a large family. So what's your income? Welfare. So what's your Shaila? How do I calculate how much Ma'aseh I have to give from welfare? So I couldn't understand. I said, I don't think you're required to give Ma'aseh. A single mother with a welfare income? She said very respectfully, but very adamantly, I didn't ask if I have to give. I want to give. How do I calculate the percentage? I don't know who this woman was, but that was a Chochmas Leiv. That was an Oyev Mitzvahs that that when you give Ma'aseh, you're connecting to the Borei Olam. The Chavetz Chaim writes, every earnings you take in, you're giving to your not so silent partner called Borei Olam. And then when someone is not faithful to Ma'aseh Ksafim, isn't he a poor, tragic millionaire? He loses that connection, that link to Borei Olam. Chacham Leiv Yikach Mitzvahs. But then I was thinking, there's another Chachma in that pasuk. We talk about Chacham Leiv Yikach Mitzvahs. Moshe, as we know, was the Mustaf Chacham Leiv. We're in Sotah Daf Yud Gimel. Bo Yirei Kam Chavivas Mitzvah Moshe Rabbeinu. Kol Yisrael Nisasku Beviza. V'u Nisasik B'Mitzvahs. Sheshenem Chacham Leiv Yikach Mitzvahs. Moshe was the epitome of Chacham Leiv Yikach Mitzvahs. What was his grace of Chachma? So the Gemara is very bekitza, but you look in the Medrash in the Zayis HaBracha, Yud Aleph Zayin. The Medrash is wondering why was Moshe Zoicha that no Yulad Isha was ever Zoicha to in history, that Borei Olam gave him the Kavarach. Vayikba Ois V'gai the Borei Olam gave Moshe the Kfura. So the Medrash Barichas says that Klal Yisrael left Mitzrayim with a tremendous biza. You learn the Gemara in Bechoros Daf Hey Amud Beis. Each year had 90 chamorim that was laden with bizas Mitzrayim. And Moshe was carrying bones. It must have been an awesome sight. Every year was walking with 90 camels of Ashiras, and Moshe was walking out with bones. Zok the Medrash, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Moshe, Ata oime shedava katan asisa? You think you did a kleinigkeit, a kavarachon to Yosef? Chayecha, Borei Olam made a shvua kaviyachol. Chayecha, hachesed ezeh shasisa godolhu. And that's pshat, vayikpa ois begay, the Borei Olam gave him this unparalleled kavarachon, that Borei Olam buried Moshe, als that covered. And you see this, you hear this, you imagine this, such a tzidkis, such a chassidus, such an Nisoy, and everybody's going out. It was a mitzvah bizas hayam. And Moshe is busy with bones. Hey, look at bones, but bones. But that's wrong. It doesn't say Moshe was a chassid and tzaddik. Chacham leiv yikach mitzvahs. You look in the Mechiltim, B'Shalach, Yud Gimel, Yutes, Loidia chachmasoi v'chasidusei shel Moshe. Because everybody's busy with bizas hayam, and Moshe is busy with bones. Shenema chacham leiv yikach mitzvahs. That's the real message of the pasuk. It's not only yikach mitzvahs, but that's chachma, chacham leiv. In the world we live in, it's a very much the bottom line society. Or a more hamish term, tachlis. Moshe was a big tzaddik, right? But you go out with 90 camels of Zav and Kesef, you can't marry off your children with bones. But Moshe was smarter than all of us. Because the Borei Olam said, Chayecha, what you did was such an incredible mitzvah, you're going to get the covered Achon that no one else had. But Rabbi says it's even more pashut, it's even more practical. Because what happened when everybody was leaving Mitzrayim? Moshe with his bones and Klal Yisrael with 90 donkeys. The Mitzrayim are pursuing them. Chayas on all sides. And now they're coming to the Yam Suf. And the Yam Suf refuses to split. It's going to be an awesome Sham Tehei Kfaraschem. Loibim Maisa Yikach HaKol. What do they have from 90 donkeys of Zav and Kesef? And what saved everything? It's those Heilige Atzmos Yosef. Oh, then they understood that a mitzvah is a doirin. Oh, then they understood what a mitzvah achas could do. And that's why the Medrash, the Pasuk, the real dogish is Chacham Leiv. It's not just, he's a tzaddik, he's a wise investor. Because Maya Hanili not 90 donkeys, if that's the end. Chavetz Chaim used to say, meint medav zayin frum, medav zayin klug. You don't have to be a tzaddik, you have to be a chacham to know what life's all about. I would always say, that's really meduyik in the Haggadah that we just said, the Haggadah, the Makar is the Mechilta. The Arba Bonim, we would think should be Rasha. And what's the opposite of a Rasha? A tzaddik. Why is it chacham and Rasha? Because the opposite of a Rosh is not just a tzaddik. He's a chacham. He's a smarter person. He's a better investor. He knows what life is all about. Two people come home after a hard day at work. Both are exhausted. Both are drained. One says, a whole day I'm making a living. Now I have to live. If I have no koyach, I'll go without koyach. The other person says, listen, I'm tired. Potter. The first person, not just a big tzaddik. He's a better investor. He's taking nothing and turning it into everything. He's taking time and turning it into nitzchias. He's taking a moment and turning it into yikar mipninim. Just a tzaddik, he's a chacham. But that's the Nisayon HaChayim. We have a very limited vision with our fleishige Eugen. We're very nearsighted. And we have to have the Borei Olam telling us, Chayecha, hachesed hazeh shata asisa gedola. I hope I'm not wrong in saying this, but even Moshe needed that chizik. Because Borei Olam told him, Chayecha, what you thought was a kleinigkeit. Maybe Moshe was an honor. But that was the problem by Ruvain, Aaron, and Boaz. Ilu haya yodeya. Think about it. What a mitzvah is. They did it. And it mamish was nitzchias. Not to inflate their ego, but to increase the simchas ha-mitzvah, the shleimus of a mitzvah. And the Gemara says the famous story about when they gave Rabbi Chanina ben Trajan that Misa Mishuna, and he was suffering terribly, and the executioner said, if I could take away the Yisurim, will you promise me a chelik al haba? And he said, yes. And they both jumped in, both died with the fire. And a baskel rang out, Rabbi Chanina and the executioner, Amazaman al-Chayal haba. So the Gemara says, Rabbeinu HaKadosh witnessed this scene, and Bacha Rebbe, Yesh koinei olam b'sha achas. Look at this. 1 minute he's an executioner, the next minute he's Mizum al-Chayal haba, together with Rabbi Chanina. Yesh koinei olam b'sha achas. So Rabbi Pam Zachayin al-Rachel once asked, what's Rebbe crying about? You don't forget, Yanim has a Elam Haba. If you give a child a lollipop, the other one says, why can't I have it? What's your problem? So Ram said, which was the Emes of Pshat, at that moment, Rebbe understood the potential of a Sha'achas. And a Sha'achas is lav dafka. Look what a moment of godless could do. From an executioner to a Mezumah L'chayei Olam Haba. And that's the guiding force of a Chacham Leiv. Every mitzvah, every nuance. Chaim Kreisworth once met Rabbi Yankel Golinsky. He said, Rabbi Yankel, I had an entire day like I never had. there were two partners fighting, that's typical. So what was unusual? They're fighting about 0.01. So, what's that? They have a business, and the Toyin says, I want 0.06, nothing less. And the Nittin says, you're not getting more than 0.05. So I realize they're fighting over 0.01, 1%. Isn't it strange? But if you know what they're fighting about, you'll understand. They have a $15 million business. So 1% is $150,000. So to me, that's the Chacham Leiv. Every mitzvah, every hidur is 0.01. It's only 0.01. It's 1 of 613. But if you know the picture of what a mitzvah achas is, then it's kedai to be moiseh nefesh. And that's what the Medrash is teaching us. Ilu haya yadeya. If we would know Achayit and Aliba, if we would really understand Yosem Mashbalabayis, Oysa La'ani, Oysa Ani Labalabayis, Oy, we would do mitzvahs b'simcha, Oy, we would do mitzvahs b'shleimus. And I want to give you a few examples that are close to my heart. And we live in a world, it's torn by machloikis. I don't want to talk on Chol Hamoed, whether it's in Shalom Bayis, in families, between siblings, neighbors, business, mechutanim. And if you know what's going on in the world, it all starts with a kleinikite, a little run-in, a little sichsuch, that snowballs and gets worse and worse, and why should I give in, why should I give in? And you have to hear the Bar Yolam saying, Ilu haya yoideya. If you would know the opportunity that there's a superpower called being mevata, giving in, yielding, even if you're 100% right. But don't we all know the Gemara Rosh Hashanah, Daf Yud Zayin, Kol Hamaval Midoisav, Mavirin Loy Al Kol B'Sho'ov? Kol Hamavir, it doesn't say only if you're a Chafetz Chaim. Mavirin Loy Al Kol B'Sho'ov. A moment of godless is a moment of a clean slate. The Gemara says an incredible story. Not that it's a Gemara, we find it hard to believe. Rav Huna was dying, and Rav Papa, about Ruach HaKodesh, came to visit him and saw he was dying. So he said, let's get the Tachrichim ready. And the Meiser Rav Huna survived. Rav Papa was embarrassed. He's prepared his Levaya, and here he is. So they asked Rav Huna, what did you see? Because he was supposed to die. He must have seen Oyenevelt. He goes, no, he shouldn't be embarrassed. He was right. He was supposed to die. But, he was given extra life because he was mavata. Because he was maval midoisav. That's a mitzvah achas of being mavata. You know, with the Ben Yoina writes in Shari Tshuva, it's a Pesach tikva nichbad ma'oid. How much less machlaikis we would have if people would understand what it means, a moment of vitur, of yielding, even if you're 100% right. Everybody knows that story about Rabbi Yasha's parents. They were married many years without a child. And once the whole story that the mother made laundry, and a woman that for no reason threw all the laundry on the floor, and she decided she's going to not say a word. She's mimavel midoiseha. And the next year, the Gadol Hador was born. It's not just to hear the story, but to live the story. The Ilu Hayadeya, what it means, a moment of vitur. I once said, this person, he fell in hard times. He almost couldn't afford lechem lecha. So he went to a friend of his that had a big supermarket. Says, I can't afford groceries. Can you give me on credit? Friend said, sure, no worry, no problem. Just buy what you need. It went on for years. He never once even asked about payment. It was way over $100,000. And finally this Yid said, I can't go on like this. I owe so much. I didn't even inquire. Let me go ask him. So he had took all his courage. He doesn't know what's he going to do when he hears the amount. It must be an astronomical amount. He goes into the store and says, Yedidi, I haven't asked you in the longest time, but how much do I owe you? He says, nothing. Nothing? What are you talking about? I'm shopping years. It must be over $100,000. He goes, it was, but it's nothing. He says, come on, I'm going to tell you a story. Someone yesterday walked into the store and says, does so-and-so, and he mentioned your name, does so-and-so shop here? He goes, yes. Does he have an account? Do you have a bill? He goes, yes. How much is it? You don't want to know. I told him. How much is it? You don't want to know? It's over $100,000. He goes, listen, I want to take care of it. And he gave me a check. So he calls his friend, look, let's go to the back. Puts on the computer, presses his name. That's you, right? That's your address, yeah? Pressed another button. Balance, 0. Could you imagine the simcha that he had at that moment? That years of chayvus is balance 0. I don't know if that story ever happened. I made it up. But that's the pshat in the Gemara. Kol hamavel midoisav mavirin al kol peshav. From an astronomical chayv, there's a mavirin al kol peshav. But you need a chacham leiv to realize what a mitzvah achas could do to a person. I'll give you another mashal. Someone asked me recently, and he was a Elocha person. He says, I'm another one of those of the sandwich generation, which I knew what he meant. Here I am, I'm midlife, I have children and grandchildren and a business, and my learning and my davening, and I have a new challenge. My parents are getting older. I don't have time for myself, I don't have time for my children, I don't have time for grandchildren, I have to have time for elderly parents. As he was saying this, I was thinking, Bari Olam was looking down saying, Ilu Haya Yoideya. If he would know what a 0.01 of Kibbut Av is by Bari Olam. Ilu Haya Yoideya. And I told him a Sefer Chassidim, I think it's a mitzvah lefarsim. In Shin Mem Aleph, Sefer Chassidim, one of the Rishonim, Yehuda Chassid, has a nifel dik pshat in the pasuk. We know Esav's extraordinary Kibbut Av. But one thing maybe we don't know. The Sefer Chassidim has wondered, why is it for Doiris, Bnei Esav has such an uncontrollable shlita over Bnei Yaakov? Whether it's the Romans, or whether it's the Germans, or anybody in between, but we're always at the hands of the Bnei Esav. Zokti Sefer Chassidim, it's a pasuk in the Torah. So when we learn this pasuk, we focus on the second half. That Esav is he's selling the Bechayra. But Zog to say, what about the first half? Esav's going to die, Vas Epis. The teretz is when Esav went hunting for his father, he was Ma'aser Nefesh. You know, Yehuda writes that hunting is a dangerous profession. Zog to say for Chassidim, that's why Esav has this shlita, Kol Yemais Olam. Because Esav was Ma'aser Nefesh for Kibbut Av. And then he says an even more wonderful dik b'shat. Yaakov tells Yosef innocently, Lech, find out Shleim Achecha v'Shleim Atzoim. And Yosef said, I can't do that. They hate me. It's a suicide mission. So why did Yosef go? He learned from Uncle Esav that you have to be Ma'aser Nefesh for Kibbut Av. And Zok to say for Chassidim, Kol ze nichtav l'haidia liYisrael eich litroyach kidei lavi panos l'aviyim ve'ech sheyezihirim lasois mitzvahs aviyim. This is a new leich v'haidia. This is a new ilu hayidea in history. But if you look in the Medrash, Bereshis Rabbah, Pei Beis Yud Daled, it's even more than this. The Medrash asks, why is it that all the noble kings wanted to be Meshadach Dafka with Esav? Esav had mitzvah achas. That's the lashon of the Medrash. He had one mitzvah of Kibbut Av. It was so striking to me. Look what a mitzvah achas. Look at the nitzvah. Look at the history of a mitzvah achas. How we have to cherish every 0.01 of Kibbut Av. I told him it's not a new challenge. It's a new privilege. It's a new opportunity. But Elam gives us the greatest schoolers on this planet Earth, that's called a father and a mother, so we can enjoy the bracha of Manirichan Yomecha, like the guy beside you going says, you think you're giving the time, you're getting the time. And to me that's mamish like the Medrash, Yosef mishmal abayis, oisel ani, ani oisel balabayis. Esav is the makar of that. He invested. He was a wise investor. He was a chacham leiv in this mitzvah achas. Someone went to Reb Chaim, Gesund, and said, is it true that people say that whatever you invest in kibbutz, you get back? Is there makar? He goes, yes. Ayin balaturim in the beginning of Parashas Kisisa. Okay, so he ran home, took out a Mekores Gedolos, looked it up. There's not a word about kibbutz, getting back. Couldn't understand. Maybe there's a mistake, misunderstood. He goes back to Chaim, I don't see anything. He goes, look again. The balaturim in the beginning of Kisisa says that when the Torah says the first time of giving tzedakah, it used the word v'nasnu. V'nasnu is read both ways. So Chaim said, I thought you'd understood what I meant. The first time we see a child giving a father in the Torah is, Esav brought his father a meal. Vayove la'aviv. Vayove la'aviv reads both ways. So if v'nasnu goes both ways, kibbutz goes both ways. Esav with the mitzvah achah was giving a shir klali, what does mean? A .01 of kibbutz. A person has the schus of spending time with parents. He has to hear Baruch looking down and saying, Chayecha hachesed hazeh she'ata asisa davagodol. Because in my Masechet Kedushin, Kol Mechaber Aveim Kilu Kibduni, and all the other analogies to Hukshu Chvoidem L'Chvoid HaMakoim. And then I realized that's the pshat in the Medrash. This tzlachas hachayim is when a person does mitzvahs b'simcha, when a person does mitzvahs b'shleimus and he appreciates a mitzvah. But that's also the nesayin hachayim, because we're all victims of ilu haya yodeya. It has to be that a person doesn't know the cheshivas of a mitzvah, because if he would, there wouldn't be a nesayin. A person has to work on cheshivas and mitzvahs. He has to develop it. I once told someone, he had a certain nesayin. I said, I'll give you an eitzah toiva. Learn about that. That was a kibbutz also. Learn about kibbutz. Take out a Gemara Kedushin. Just learn the sugi and Kedushin about kibbutz. You'll see what Mesilas Yesharim writes in Perik Ches. Kashiyas ameis eitzel ha'odam goydel erech ha'mitzvahs v'roiv chayvasi b'hem v'adei she'yisoyre libo la'avoida v'yisrapa b'menu. It's pashit. A person oyev kesef la yizba kesef. And if you know what a mitzvah is, it's oyev mitzvah la yizba mitzvahs. Before you start a mitzvah, to appreciate the godless of a mitzvah. And I think Davar B'Itim Atoy, we're starting the summer months. How we go on the streets. The paratz murba la'ayma that we see on the streets. How does a person go to work? The eitzah is chacham leiv yikach mitzvahs. Remember the words of the Derech Eretz Rabbah, the end of Perik Aleph. Kol haroyed dvar erva ve'in izanis einav mimenu zoichu mikabel pnei hashchina she'nema va'oitzim einam merois bara u'maksiv basrei melech b'yofye sechazen einecha. It's not only an asayin, it's a gewaldige mokum aliyah. It's a yesh kainei lama b'sha'achas. Someone's walking and there's something he's not supposed to see, and he closes his eyes. That's a yesh kainei lama b'sha'achas. That's a millionaire in a moment. It's a .0 of kedusha. Mi yachal l'shaya. But there's another lesson, I think, from this medrash. Someone recently made a very moving tribute to a very worthy moisid. And he said that when the history book of American Yiddishkeit will be written, this moisid will have a whole parak written about this moisid. I don't doubt that's true. But he made two serious mistakes. First of all, it's not when the history book will be written. It's being written. Achshav zok the medrash, a person does a mitzvah mikaisva. But the more serious mistake, it's not only a big moisid that's writing history. Every one of us, me and you, my mitzvahs and your mitzvahs, my .01 kedusha and your .01 kedusha, my kibbutz and your kibbutz, my ma'aseh ksafim and your ksafim. Achshav k'sh'adam oiseh mitzvah mi kaisva lashon hoiver Eliyahu Kaisva, Melech HaMashiach, Kadosh Baruch Hu, Choisam HaYadeim, and that's Vayikosei B'Sefer Zikaron. We are writing the history with our mitzvahs. Every Mesiras Nefesh, every exertion, every mitzvah is writing the history of this Dar Achroin. There's a beautiful, touching lashon of Chayvas Lavaves and Cheshbon Nefesh Yud Aleph. Ki ayamim, a person's days, his life, Megillos, is like a Megillah. Kisvu b'hem mashe techefzu sheyisku l'chach. You and me, we write our own history. Life is a history book. And with our Mesiras Nefesh, and with our Chavivas HaMitzvahs, with our Chashivas HaMitzvahs, we're writing history. Not just a world-class moisid. Now, people say, the rest is history. The marriage is saying, it's all history now. Baruch Hashem, we have a lot to be proud of this Dar Achrein. The Ribuy of Torah, the Ribuy of Chesed. But there's a world beyond our little vinkala. There's a world that, pardon me for saying this, but over 90% of Yidden don't know what an Aleph Beis is. There's a world that's described in the end of the Yishalmi and Brachis. Tanya Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, Oyem Imer Isei Esador, Briyoi Shenis Yaishu Yedeyim in HaTorah Ma'oid, Amoid V'Ischazik Bo V'atem Bekabel Schar Kulam. My timer, hey, Feira Torah Secha, if you're living in a time of Feira Torah Secha, Eis Lasois Lashem. I ask you, was there a door like our door of a Feira Torah Secha, Rachmanu Litzlan? Over 90% of Yidden don't know they're Yidden. In a time of Feira Torah Secha, we have to write the chapter of Eis Lasois Lashem, or like the guy in his Goyris, his Chazik Ma'oid. How important it is. Those words as Nidbru Yirei Hashem, Isha Vayeyu, Vayakshiv Hashem Vayishma, Vayikosev Seif Zikaron Lefan of the Yirei Hashem L'choish Ve'Shemoy. You look in the Even Ezra on this pasuk in Malachi. He says, Chachmei Lev. Someone that's living in the time of Feira Torah Secha and is machshav every 0.01 of a mitzvah is the wisest investor. But you look a little earlier, same parak in Malachi Gimel, you see a parasha that tears your heart. Chosku alai devreichem am Hashem. Rashi teaches lashon gidufin. Yidden you mechar from a gadif. What did we say? Omartem shav avoid alikim. What do we gain from avodas Hashem? Umabetza ki shamarna mishmartoi. And the ato anachnu ma'ashim zaydim. We say it's better. You worry about gashmis, you worry about money and business and have a good time. It's frightening. We said that. We said shav avoid alikim. But there's a world. The overwhelming majority of Achenu b'nei Yisrael are living shav avoid alikim. Who needs Torah? Who needs tznius? Who needs kedusha? Who needs shmir from technology that's destroying Klal Yisrael in an unprecedented way? Who needs it all? It's just old bones. And then you have the people that are on fire with Eis Lasois Lashem. We need it. We want it. That's our life. Kihem Chayenu. But you know, it's even more urgent. Because you learn the Kapitel Yud Beis in Daniel, where Daniel depicts Yemois HaMashiach, times of Teres HaMesim, mamish like we see it. Be'eis Sahi Yamoid B'chol Saragodol, V'ye'eis Tzorash Le'niyosa Miyois Goy Ad Ha'eis Sahi. There's going to be a tzara that's unparalleled in history. We just lived through the horrors of World War II. Tzadikim said that's the Mechemes Goy Gamogoi. And the next pasuk is Rab Yisheni Admas Ofa Yokitzu Eila Chaya Oilam. There'll be a Tchias HaMesim. Everything like we see it. But Dr. Navi Daniel, if it's going to be such a shreklach time, who's going to be saved? Uve'eise Yimolet Amcha Kol Animtze Kosev Baseifa. You know who's going to be safe on this Eis Sarash Leneyosem Yois Goy? It's going to be those that are written into the Sefer. Which Sefer is he talking about? So you look at the Ben Sajigoy and the Even Ezra and the Radak and Malachi. All say it's the Zikaron, Sefer Zikaron that we just learned about in Malachi. In a time that the world tried, Shav Avoid Elikim, there are Gibayri Koyach that are living as Lasis Lashem, that are writing the Sefer of Oyev Mitzvahs La Yizba Mitzvahs. Those Chachmei Alev on the Yomim that the Baruch Shem gave them are writing the last chapter of history in America. Now is the time we have to hear Bari Olam saying, Im Adam Oisa Mitzvah, Oisa Belev Sameach, Belev of Shalem. Now is the time that that Sefer is mamish, a question of Chiyus. Rav Moshe writes in a tshuva in Yerdei Chela Gimel Siman Ayin Aleph, it's a chayv on every malamed to show the children the godless of a mitzvah, not the schar necessarily. Asher yedish akiyah mitzvah yakim mikol hain umikol tanuga sa'olam ki kainu b'zeh chayi netzach shesha'achas yafim mikol chayi olam haba. He goes on to say, a Rebbe has to show his children that this is tachlis achayim, noch ha mitzvah. Sheyis'ameis eitzel adam, what a mitzvah is. And then he says, that so many went off the derech because parents krechts, sheshver zu sein ayid. That's like shav avoid alekim. But the hatzol of Klal Yisrael is to good to sein ayid. We have to live like the next pasuk in Daniel. Hamaskilam yazir kizoya rekia. Rashi says the platzing with simchas achayim, noch a vortar, noch a blat gemara. I used to wonder, the Gemara says in Sanhedrin of Tzadik Chesed with Beis, Mayasa Adam v'yinotzel michevle shel Mashiach. Anybody with open eyes, with an open heart, knows that we're living in Chevle Mashiach. Tzadikim said this. He told me, he said, he swore the true story. His non-Jewish business acquaintance told him, the problem that we face, the world faces, are so severe that even we came to the conclusion, we the non-Jews, that the only hope is the Jewish Messiah. Goyim are talking about Mayasa Adam. So what's the Eitzah? So Gemara Yasik b'Torah uv'gemilas chasadim. Torah and Chesed, very poshut, but it's a pella. Torah and Chesed are two of the three Amudei Olam. And if it's not Chevle Mashiach, we don't have to learn Torah. And also, look at the Chesed that we see today. Look at the moistus that we see today. Someone showed me once a Gemach directory list. Hundreds of Gemachen of every imaginable and unimaginable Gemach that only a Yiddish Haaretz could think of doing to help another Yid. A directory list, phone numbers, hundreds and hundreds. So you have to tell a dar, do Chesed. I once heard from Moshe Wolfson Zayin Gesund. In the early years, after the Mecham, he died by the Satmarov. Satmarov once made an appeal, and says, there's a very big need. I want to give with Mesiras Nefesh. Satmarov at Gehasen, he was Mechanach Adar to give Mesiras Nefesh, and they gave unusual sums. When all the pledges came in, he went up to the beam again. I want you to give another time. There's a level that after Mesiras Nefesh, you give again with Mesiras Nefesh. That's the pshat in the Gemara. The chesed that we see in Klal Yisrael is Layum Ki Yisupa. But in the time of Mayasa V'Yinotzel, we have to go beyond our comfort level. We have to go in the mode of Mayasa V'Yinotzel. Baruch Hashem, there are wonderful moistus that are helping, that are mamish saving Eden, but they're collapsing, they're failing. Lack of funds. And that's what Yasa V'Yinotzel, beyond the call of duty, more and more and more. Here I know a successful businessman told me this story, and he earned my respect for that. He was offered a new partnership that would put him in a whole different realm. And he said, I'm thinking about it. And he went back to his partners. He says, you know what? I'm not going to join. Gesundheit without me. So he asked him, did you lose your mind? You're talking about a venture that's going to bring you big, big money. This is what he told me what he said. He said, I see what's going on in the world around us. It's not simple times. I have enough money to live on. If I have extra time, I'd rather spend it preparing for Mashiach. That's Pshat in the Gemara. Ma'yasa Adam v'yinotzel Yasik b'Torah. There's a regular level of Yasik b'Torah that we all do. But if you're living in time that's a question of Ma'yasa v'yinotzel, there has to be a different focus in Limud HaTorah. And I want to say Pashit, Dvar Ma'yotzim in Alev, to the B'nai Yeshiva, the Kolian Golite. The Chiyuv today is Ashaloi Niyasa Me'eis Hayois Ha'am. Remember, Pam once said, and it made a big roshim. I wonder what he would say today. But he says, today we have Shailis, Shaloi Sarm Avoiseinu. We have Shveres Shailis, and where are the Gedolim? Who will answer Shailis? I mean, think about what today we have. I mean, what Poskim have today in technology, in Shabbos and Kashrus, end of life issues, infertility, in Yichus, in Gerus. Now is a time that a Ben Torah has to be on fire with Vayigba Libay B'darchei Hashem. I am going to take the Achrayis. I am going to be the one of Yasik B'Torah that's going to respond to the Shailis Ashaloi Niyosem Eis Ha'am. Another expression, a beautiful expression of Yasik B'Torah. I could say honestly, when I was growing up, when I was a young child, they were Tamidei Chachamim and they were Balabatim. Today we see it's one and the same. Today we see Balabatim that are spending many hours a day learning. Today we see a Balabas is a Talmud Chacham Muflig. That's the Yasik B'Torah that the Bereshit gave us in our door. And I feel it's a schus to mention what I believe is the crown of our Yasik B'Torah. There are people, either they retired or early retirement, and they're back in Beis Medrash. You have to be deaf not to hear Barilim saying Chayecha HaChesed Ata Oisa Godolhu. Imagine a person that spends his golden years b'chatzos Beis Hashem. I see these Yidden, I admire them, and I learned a new understanding of a pasuk we say in Tehillim all the time. Shesulim beveis Hashem b'chatzos Elokeinu yafrichu. They're back in yeshiva. They're back to full-time learning. Shesulim beveis Hashem. And then you see Oy Yenuvan b'seva D'shenim v'ranim yiyu. Instead of sitting around and reading the newspaper again and checking if the mail came and waiting for the Malach HaMoves, they're frisch. They're gesund. They're living. Kihem chayenu. I want to do this my whole life, but now I'm going to come with an akama. Oid yenuven b'seva d'shein v'ranim yiyu. And they are the maskilim yaziru k'zayar akiya lahagit ki yosher Hashem. This is what life's all about. This is living. It's not shav avoid alikim. This is what life is all about. It needs a little fine-tuning, and if the asking that will make this work on a broader scale, you can't just go from working to retiring. But michelka yechelka, I'm a kind of person that figures this out, that it should be a davar shavu l'chol nefesh. But this opportunity of Yasik B'Torah, it's what's going to bring us to Geula, what's going to write us in the Sefer Hazeh. We have a lot to be proud of. But Chacham leiv yikach mitzvahs. Oyev mitzvah yizba mitzvahs. Let me just sign with one more word. I think it's probably the most important message of our Medrash. Reb Chaim Vital writes in the Shifrei, quote in the Shifrei Reb Chaim Vital, that he once asked his Groiser Rebbe, the Arizal, you always tell me about my neshama is so big and so the Haibin. Tell me the truth. Is this true? I don't come close to the ankles of the Frierdik Adoiris. Rebbe, why do you tell me about my neshama, my mitzvah so chashiv? So they quote what the Ariya Kaddish responded, and I'll read because of Chibas L'Shoinei. Vayoyma da ki gadlus hanefesh eini tluya kifi ma'isa adam. It's not your davening or your learning. Rak kifi azman v'adorahu ki ma'isa kotten ma'oid b'dor hazeh. Shokol kikama mitzvah is b'doros harishayim. What you do today is worth more than all the other mitzvahs. Why? Ki b'doros ha'elu, the Rabbi Yakov Zev in his times, haklipa goiveres ma'oid ad ein kates, with endless klipas, and therefore, if you do a mitzvah, b'li safik, your mitzvah is more than all the mitzvahs of the previous dairis. Now, I stopped and I wondered, what was the Rabbi Yakov Zev talking about? Where he lived in Tzvas, where the Beis Yosef was the Paisik, the Ari was the Rebbe, where the Charedim was the Shamish, where some Alkmitz was the Chazin, where the Al Shachgoz was the Darshan, and he's talking about a Klipa, Goiveres, Ma'oid, Ad Ein Kates. But the Rabbi Yakov Zev said that. Because compared to the previous generations, this is Klipas. I don't know what the Ari was talking about in his times, but I do know what the Rabbi Yakov Zev would say in our times. In a world of a favorite Torah Sech, in a world that has abandoned every shred of Kedusha and Tahara, our mitzvahs, our paltry mitzvahs, our davening is ma'oid. I want to ask a question, but I'm afraid to ask. I'll ask it anyhow. How many people that just heard this don't believe it? How could it be? Me? I compare to a Rashba? I compare to Rabbi Akiva? The person that does not believe it, the Medrash is talking to him. Ilu hoya yoideya. We are the Dar Acham that's writing the history of Klal Yisrael. It's our mitzvah, it's our Mesiras Nefesh, it's our Kviyas Itim. In a world of Shav Navoid Elikim, it's very tempting to say, Ma'ani. But that's what the Medrash's real lesson. And if you want to remember the lesson, think about this. Chaim writes, everything that happened in the Bria happens for a purpose. The telephone, recordings. I wondered recently, why is there so much about lotteries? The world has been possessed by the madness of Powerball and Super and all these different types of lotteries. Why is that talking to us? Think about it. A person buys a ticket. How much is a piece of paper worth? Zero. It's not even lots of bits lechisai. But when they draw the ticket, the winning ticket, it's millions of dollars. We are the winning ticket. We are the ones that are going to bring the geula. We look at our avodah compared to Friedik, what am I? But the lesson is that in a world of such tumah, we could generate the Kedusha. We could generate the Argadol that hopefully will bring us the Argadol of Melech HaMashiach from Herev Yameinu. Amen.
Shem Igusher, I'd like to thank our Rabbi Yakov Zev, especially for the fire, the Gedrosha. Moirdik, Dvar Mayoitzim and Alev and Achlosim and Alev. We'd like to thank a Choshev did Rabbi Avram Spry for being Menadav today's Kiddush Hashem, the Nishmas Imoy Esther Pesel by Rabbi Yitzchak, and also his Choshev did Rabbi Avram Eisen, Nishmas Ova, Rabbi Shlomo, Rabbi Shlomo with the Yotzar Thursday. Rabbi say the next year is in 5 minutes. 5 minutes of the Shia where Rabbi Gorin, the Skvera Dain, Shalos and Shuvas Dalat Chalke Shechan Rabbi say yes, Ingen Sheter is one of those organizations that need the help. We have now Shiur and Baruch Hashem all over the world. Just like he came here to the Shia today, there's now a Shia in Lakewood and in Monsey and in Williamsburg and many other neighborhoods, and also in Israel in 10 different places. And there's Yeshivas Chol Hamoed for thousands of kids that come every single day Chol Hamoed and Yom Tov with the fathers to learn and get a matana. They go home with simcha, they make menuchas and nefesh in the house, and they learn the Heilige Torah with their fathers. What biggest simcha is the simchas Yom Tov and simchas Torah and simchas Klal Yisrael it is. How Klal Yisrael is coming together, thousands of Yingalaiten, Bochum and Kinder come together, Chol Hamoed, Mika Amcha Yisrael. Whoever can help out to sponsor Shia, be Menadav, whatever they can help out with a tremendous chizik for Ingen Sheter to continue the Heilige Arbeit. Rabbi Chaim Rakasha Maradot Godish Boch Le Zako is Yisrael Fikach Hier Belehem Teure Mitzvahs Shenema Adonai Chofetz L'man Tzidka Yagdil Teure V'Yadeh Kaddish. Amen. 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 Yehei Shmei Rabba Mavarach Olam Amri Omayis.